Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for ARC Formula 2 action. It's been a while since this has been broadcasted, but I figured I'm awake. And it's the final round of the season, so may as well make it a good one. It's the Brazilian GP of ARC Formula 2. And we already have the camera on board. The first person who started a lap in the session, Nathan Arruda in the Ferrari. As didn't really get the streams going fast enough to make this the circuit tour lap, which would have been convenient if I had, because he actually made it all the way around the circuit without invalidating the lap. What the heck? As the two Ferraris are the first ones to complete a lap. Of them, the faster one being Jamie Knock. We're going to do the circuit tour lap with Noah Smith in the Alpine. Trail braking into one. Don't hit that curb too much, and also don't hit that curb too much, or you probably invalidate your lap. Down the back straightaway. Into the braking zone for 4. Tightens up on exit, while most high-speed corners usually don't do that. Up the hill into, I think this is 6, which is then 7. It's a weird 1.5 apex corner. That's too much curb, so we'll just look at the other Alpine of Harley Collins, who's maybe on a lap. No, he isn't. Meanwhile, as I wasn't paying attention, Kyle Mitchell in the Mercedes went with a 107.4, the first driver to touch the soft tires. Arruda jumps his teammate, runs a 101.18, and then 2 basically non-factor, non-representative laps from 2 drivers who first time I've seen them, as Harley Collins takes a 112.2. Joseph Mayhem and Isan Kwame, is that how I say that? And then we're back on board with Matthew Stotts. Greater than 90-degree hairpin, followed by this weird sloping downhill left. The car doesn't like the corner exit too much on this game. Uphill right. Very easy to just miss that apex altogether. Downhill left, where you'll either miss the apex or understeer off, or you'll just snap. And then the final corner, where it's relatively business as usual for this track. As I remember particularly the little emails you get in career mode describe it pretty well. There's not a single corner here that doesn't have some kind of gimmick going on. Nope. As Joseph Mayhem runs a 108.89, Stotts a 108.30. But all these 108s are still on the medium compound. Only one driver has ventured into the soft tires and run a representative lap time. Isan Kwame has, but hasn't made a representative lap, and nor has Noah Smith. So I'm pretty sure he's good for more than a 13.96. AJ Knickel invalidates Purple Sector 1, but there is an incredibly fine dividing line as Matthew Stotts finds the random oversteer that I was mentioning through that corner, and he's lucky to be able to drive that back to the pit lane with that sort of collision with the wall. There's a very fine line on this circuit between attacking the curbs and getting in an invalidated lap. A fine line that I usually cross when I'm driving on it. Apparently, Colby Luca didn't cross it there, as Nathan Arruda runs a 108.1. No, wait, he didn't run it any faster, he just changed his tires. I just saw movement in the corner of my eye. How is that not an extension? I guess it doesn't matter, it's the outlap, but still. As the Williams driver heads up to the line to begin his lap, he is the only, or one of only a couple drivers actually on the circuit right now. And everybody else is just making reruns, probably due to invalidated laps on the previous try. Allen exiting the pits manages to just stay out of his way. And there's another car ahead, that would be what I can only assume to be Hassan Kwame, and has just absolutely demolished Colby's run up towards T6. Looks like he's still going for the lap though. I guess it didn't affect him all that much, but it wasn't ideal, to say the least. AJ Kaneko finally manages a valid lap, and it's a decent one, a 107.90. Hassan Kwame then retires from the session. And that's kind of a place that tells me he probably did that by, like, you know, manual menu inputs. Because that's not really a normal place to DNF. Kobe Luca heads up to the line, and a 108 flat, third on the grid. We will spectate the Ferrari going through the middle sector and see if we can... Never mind, he's gone. I was gonna say see if we can figure out where the DNF'd car is and how he might have gotten there, but no, of course not. Codemasters denies us the mystery. Luke Allen on his way around. Into the middle sector. I often like to think of this track as pretty evenly divided. Sector 1 is the aero sector, Sector 2 is the chassis sector, and Sector 3 is the engine sector, or rather, in this case, lack of downforce sector. And it'll be a 108.34 for Luke Allen, right in the middle of the grid at this point in time. Who was I watching earlier? Having a moment. AF1 driver has joined, presumably to spectate. Was it Jamie Knock? Doesn't make any sense. He's on worn tires. He's probably on his in-lap, I'm guessing. I don't know, I guess it could be a more or less outlap, I'm not sure. He's revving his engine like it. He's activated the battery, so he is going for a lap in anger here. On relatively worn mediums. Interesting corner exit. Taking a hefty amount of curbing. He's definitely attacking the entirety of them, and you know, his car is staying planted, so I guess that's, you know, the only real deterrent, that or invalidation. Oh, the car is no longer staying planted. Luckily it's spun inward, not outward, so able to, you know, keep the car off the barrier and make another lap later. Matthew Stott just began his next attempt. And AJ Kaneko and Nathan Aruda not far behind, looking at the map. Allegedly purple sector for Matthew Stotts. I'm inclined to believe it since he's on soft tires. Unlike usual, where the game likes to lie about that. big surprise moment and a bit of a shake into that second to last turn has thwarted what looked like a really fast lap going. This is not this is not a hot lap. This is, though. Heading down literally where we just left off with the McLaren driver. Out of the last turn. This allegedly purple sector 2. That's the sector it likes to lie about, so we'll just have to see. At the line. Improvement, but not enough to grab the pole position. 107.49. Harley Collins with invalidation woes. Stotts also with that. So Nathan Aruda is the only driver worth putting the camera on. He hasn't activated the battery yet, though. Now he has. Planted through the S's, some incoming vehicles coming out of the pit lane. Incoming, coming out, yep. Right goes in there. Write that down. I'm keeping track at home. That looked like it had invalidation written all over it, but he manages to keep it within the white lines. Down the hill, back up the hill. In purple sector 2. Will this be a challenger for the pole position? And force Kyle Mitchell back out of his hidey hole in the garage area. Up to the line. Oh yeah, 107.16 defeats Kyle Mitchell. And, well, the gauntlet's been thrown down now. As everyone's going to have one more shot, except for him. He has just used his final shot. He's not going to have enough time to get back around and make another. I don't think. Kobe Luca just began his lap. Luke Allen about to finish his. At the line, Luke will run a 107.85. He will share the second row with his teammate for the moment. Stotts, I don't know. Stotts, not stats. Mothy stats. Invalid. Valid. He's just begun the lap. McGowan's satisfied with his results. He doesn't have a choice. There's not enough time left to be unsatisfied. I don't see... Never mind. I now see Kyle Mitchell has indeed decided to challenge that pole. Or for that pole. My English... Oh, just a touch outside. And that is the end of that attempt for Craig Knock. That's Jamie Knock, I think. Knock. The Ferrari. Knock, knock. Who's there? Stott's a little unsettled through the Senna S's. His battery already looking kind of low for this being his outlap. And that's too much extension, so that's the end of that attempt as well. Kyle Mitchell on the borderline between the end of the outlap and the end of his session. That little snap there. Car pulled a little spooky on him. It's gonna basically be, as far as I can tell, down to Mitchell versus Knickel versus that 107.16 from before. Jamie Knock, as I've just checked and ensured that I have the right knock. Tires from the session. The Stotts will give it another attempt. But I think right now the camera should be on AJ Nicholas Kyle, not Kyler. No, he's not here. That's later. Kyle Mitchell has made an error heading towards Sector 2 at turn 7, I think that is. So put the camera on the Aston Martin. Bit of a rough, I think that's turn 9. Down the hill, up the hill, still apparently a purple sector, according to the game. Joseph Mayhem retires, exiting 3. AJ runs a 107.46, a minuscule improvement, not even enough to go back over Mitchell. Matthew Stott's invalidation woes. Harley Collins produces a 107.99. Noah Smith a 102.28. Both Alpines managing to just jump the McLaren. Colby Luca is apparently on a lap. I hadn't even noticed, if I must be honest. I was so hyper focused on can AJ or Kyle Mitchell defeat Aruda, but I wasn't even noticing other people were, in fact, on laps. And I believe this will be the final lap of the session. He heads up to the finish, and he lets off to not make that his lap, but he still improves. If he hadn't let off, he would be 4th on the grid as a consolation, but now he's just not ideal. My lungs are revolting. Let's wait for everybody to, or just wait for Harley Collins to... No, Kyle Mitchell. They're both pitting in, obviously. And once the game takes them in... Now he's retiring in the pits. I didn't know that was even a thing, that was an option. That is qualifying done. Once it registers that he's back in the pit lane, that is. I just got a little bit startled by the PA announcer. Oh, out of fuel. Well, I thought you were trying to avoid the tire wear of 3 laps old soft tires. Should have been fuel saving, I guess. I don't know. Ran out of gas in qualifying. It's just a bizarre idea. And so there you have the qualifying results. I usually just run down the grid during the formation lap because there's nothing better to do. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Isan Kwame is not representative. We just had some invalidation woes because that is ever present in, in general in this game. So we just awkwardly sit here and wait for that countdown to go away. My throat continues to revolt. And give it a rest. Lungs, I still got AF1 after this. I didn't grab the mic that has a mute button on it, so it's either aggressively unplug the mic before clearing or coughing, or just dealing with it. At least it's not belching like I was doing a few weeks ago, I suppose. Can this track announcer just shut? I don't care. Didn't ask. L plus ratio plus your disembodied voice in my head. You're still waiting for players. Still waiting for players. What is going on here? There we go. I was like, do I have time to go to the bathroom? And you look at the tires. Everyone's apparently on a fresh set. Okay. Let's see. So, running down the grid, we have on pole Nathan Aruda. Kyle Mitchell joins him on the front row, followed by the two Aston Martins of AJ Knickel and Luke Allen. Mr. Fuel Crisis, Colby Luca, 5th. Followed by the two Alpines of Harley Collins, not Harvey like I kept calling him before, and Noah Smith. Matthew Stotts, 8th. Jamie Knock, not Craig, 9th. Joseph Mayhem, 10th. And Isan Kwame with weird, whatever that was, starting last for the AlphaTauri. Mayhem, Knock, and Stotts starting on the medium tires. Everybody else starting on the soft compound. I love this camera, dude. I'm trying to remember to at least use this broadcast camera, if only I could just have it automatically trigger, or automatically toggle itself. That'd be nice. It's a weird thing, because I want to, I want to make the broadcast look nice. Stotts and Smith have been DQ'd at the last possible second, pretty much. I want to make it look like an actual broadcast, but I also just have, like, really bad depth perception, so I like using this camera to watch on-track battles. Plus, if I have to pull a steward moment and actually, save the clip of the crash for later, I can do that a lot easier from that camera than from the broadcast one. So it's an odd, delicate balance. That's what happens when you have a admin as your announcer. Anywho, all the cars have formed up on the grid, whether willingly or otherwise. Oh. 5 red lights. And we're green for the Brazilian GP of AF2. Looks like Aruda gets a good enough start to get away from the other two that are just behind him. It's relatively normal looking through the S's, except for one of the Alpines, looks like it was Noah Smith, was very much out of line. Hassan Kwame with some unique defense into 4. Extension for the Williams. Noah Smith bogged down somehow, some way through there. I don't know exactly how. Looks like Hassan Sportsmanship is letting the Alpine pass. Everyone's favorite hairpin cam. Hairpin time! As, and AJ couldn't be any closer to that Mercedes right now. Just like 2020, that Aston Martin could be any closer to the Mercedes. Or no, what's 2020? Ignore me. As, there is a 2-wide battle heading down towards T1, kind of. It's already subsided before we even get to the braking zone. Noah Smith, with damage, has to head into the pit lane to fix. So Hassan Kwame's sportsmanship was acknowledged, but also ultimately didn't make a difference because you can't keep the place anyway. Knickel, a bit of a, I don't know if that was oversteer or understeer or both into turn 4. When I have to do that isn't too bad. Otherwise I can just, leave it in and cough away from the mic. Or try. Anywho. Lap 2. Not particularly interesting. We're just waiting for DRS to be enabled, and that's when it's game time. That's when all of the madness begins, as soon as DRS is available. And, But Ferrari is looking awfully vulnerable going down towards turn 4 at the moment. I think that might have been a warning there for Kyle Mitchell. There's the DRS. He's not dumping the battery though. Not close enough. Colby fakes a send on the Alpine. Ultimately forces the Alpine wide as he attempts to give the Williams some space. And then doesn't give the Williams space, and we have our first DNF of the race. I say doesn't give the Williams space. Actually, I'm not really sure what happened there. If I had a replay option, I could go back and look at it and probably figure out what happened, but I'll just leave that for the stewards. I caught the crash on the... Come on, Riker. I caught the crash on camera. That's my job right now. My job of figuring out who did it comes tomorrow. Or Monday. Oh, that was only a VSC. Whoops, my bad. I wasn't paying attention. Well timed for Nathan Aruda. He gets a huge lead off of that. And AJ Knickel is filling the mirrors of that Mercedes right about now. And also just about filling the track limits. I think I know who that comment's from. Well, that remains to be seen. As now, Isan Kwame heads into the pits. I'm not exactly sure where he would have gotten damage. Unless he got caught up in... No, because he wasn't near that crash, I don't think. Anyway, my 1,000 eyes doesn't really help me there. Kyle Mitchell is pushing to get back to that Ferrari. The lap time reflects as such. And for all intents and purposes, he has. DRS makes a return. And there's not a whole lot going on down the field, so it's best to just keep the camera on the top 3 at the moment. Jamie Knock is catching Matthew Stott, so that's about the only other thing worth putting the camera on, but this is a battle for the lead, so... Excuse me again. I swear I'll have this all worked out for AF1. Hopefully. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully. Good old understeer through, I think that's Junsao, or is the last corner? I don't know, I just know the Senna S, something Del Sol, and something is Junsao somewhere. There's a yellow flag. It's for Collins, who is around, heading towards 7. It's a weird place to lose it. It remains the same for yet another lap. Just check in with the Ferrari-McLaren battle back here. Fakes a dive, doesn't go for it, and Stotts is simply not fooled. I don't envy being AJ Knickel right now. While he is in the catbird seat down the straightaways, right now he's getting a lot of ill wind going over his car. Not a big problem in the middle sector, but it's going to be a problem here. I doubt the other two are letting off through there, but because he's getting dirty air from both cars, he's having to really manhandle his car. Kyle Mitchell had the ARS deployed. Aruda's dumping. Mitchell's gonna go for the lead. Aruda forces the issue down the inside through the Senna S as there's a lapped car ahead. just about space remaining. DRS comes into play here. Harley Collins is out of the GP. And we're 3 wide for the lead. Safety car, don't bugger this up. Kyle Mitchell ends up the loser, and Nathan Aruda somehow defends his lead. Never mind, we're going 2 wide again. And AJ retreats. So there's the first taste of the action there. Kyle Mitchell ends up engaging first, and he ends up being the loser out of the party. There is Isan Kwame ahead in the AlphaTauri. He's ghosted, obviously, for that rule is on. But actually, if I was Nathan, I'd waited a minute, because I would have given. He would have gotten DRS off of that AlphaTauri. Instead, he is once again DRS-less. The young and the DRS-less. Aruda defends Knickel to the outside. This is not really the greatest camera to see this at. Aruda still holding on to that lead. Another DRS zone. There's a word there, Riker. And as the AlphaTauri continues to do limbo dancing back there. Finally, AJ Knickel has dethroned the Ferrari driver, and he takes the lead of the race. Okay, get that camera out of here. That's not helpful. Jamie Knock has not been able to get much closer to Stotts, but both of them have managed to get closer to Luke Allen ahead, as the soft tires are beginning to feel the burn, the medium tires are soaking in the sun. That's a weird metaphor, why did I say that? You know what I mean. Medium tires are not wearing, the soft tires are. As here we go again, round 3, heading towards T1. What does Mitchell do, honestly? He's the one that's really in the sort of middle ground. As Aruda takes the lead back through turn 1. DRS is enabled for the retaliation. The attempt to take it back around the outside of 4. Space is left. I hate this camera, I can't see anything. And down the inside of 5, Knickel will stay in the lead, and Mitchell just has to back out or face the consequence. It's a huge move on the outside of 4. That's not something you see in modern day F1 very often. Or just, honestly, in general. You see that in, like, GT, not this. AJ wants to make good his escape, but DRS is ever the karma chameleon in the sequence. All 3 drivers pretty much on the poverty line for battery charge. We're gonna go again, round 4. AJ almost in the grass trying to make sure Aruda has the room. He tries a crossover through 1, but it just doesn't work. Cannot get the throttle enough. But now Aruda is absolutely out of battery charge. Defends viciously into 4. AJ tries the outside once again. Just about space remaining. Screw this camera. Please stop giving me that. The outside of 5 is sketchy. Aruda stays there, and AJ's going to have to just back out or face the consequences. Again. Meanwhile, in the middle of that, Matthew Stotts took P4 away from Luke Allen. Whatever battle waged on there had left Jamie Knock out of place, as he might not even have DRS on the next lap. And here comes round 5 on the Ferrari driver. The only thing that seems to stop this battle will be when they have to pit. And they might try and overtake into the pit lane at this rate. AJ out-drags into 1. It's about as easy as it gets. But of course, once again with the DRS, Nathan, AJ putting up some resistance. Now it's Aruda's turn to take the outside of 4. And he sweeps it around. And so we have yet another lead change here in the Brazilian GP. Luke Allen gets a penalty in the background. That battle is still going. It's just really hard as AJ goes a little wide through turns 6 and 7. I think that's 2 corners. I don't know. He goes a bit wide. Mitchell can't make him pay for it, but he's lost quite a lot of time to Aruda. That's exactly what he needed to lower the heart rate, if nothing else. My lungs are absolutely not happy with me right now, but I really don't care. As Nathan Aruda heads into the pit lane, and that will dissuade the battle for just a moment. Being the leader and being the first to pit puts Aruda in a really good spot, especially if Kyle Mitchell forces the issue here, which he's not doing. It's a very wise choice. As much as I always say save the commentator, there's no real reason to right now. There'll be plenty of commentary to do after the pit cycle out, because I don't think these two are going much longer. They'd be foolish to do so. And once they go in, it'll give the lead to Matthew Stotts. Not Luke Mitchell. Kyle Mitchell almost got him on the exit of whatever corner number that is, but instead found some oversteer from getting on the throttle too aggressively. Head up the hill. The AlphaTauri is about to be lapped the second time. AJ pits in. Mitchell does not follow. Jamie Knock also pits in. That's a curious choice. Luke Allen is forced to resign to stay another lap out on these soft tires. He's already lost the places to Stotts. And he had lost the place to Jamie Knock as well until he went in. It's the weirdest pit exit on the circuit. On the calendar, I should say. And indeed, Aruda has gotten pretty far ahead of AJ, plus... Oh no, that's Jamie Knock on hard tires. I don't know if that was necessary. And Mitchell still does not hit the pit lane. He's going to make sure those mediums make it to the end one way or the other. He's definitely playing the long game, but I feel like or he's trying to hold out for a safety car. Luke Allen pits in. Banking on a safety car, usually not a bad bet in ARC, but today the field's pretty spread out right now. Keywords right now. It certainly wasn't 5 laps ago, but right now it's pretty far apart. There's not going to be much of a risk of a safety car at the immediate time span. Oh my god. I again apologize. There's no like bottled water in the house that I can drink, and anything else that I can drink will just make me gassy, and that's hardly becoming of a commentator. Just be belching in your ear the whole time. As the two would-be leaders have caught mayhem on a different strategy. Let's see how this plays out. Kyle Mitchell finally heads into the pit lane for his new tires. Matthew Stotts will inherit the lead for the time being. Looks like Mayhem will put up no resistance to Aruda. Botched exit of turn 2 there for the Red Bull driver. AJ has 0 battery though, so that makes this overtake a little more difficult. He's ahead. My brain is shut off. I was trying to say it makes this overtake more difficult than it normally would be, but apparently the overtake isn't the only thing that was made difficult. Oh my word. How have I not been replaced yet? Terrible. Anyway. So yeah, looks like Kyle Mitchell definitely is the big loser at the moment. With no Stotts boxes now. That seems a little early. He's going for a 2-stop perhaps? Oh, good lord. Kyle Mitchell, definitely the big loser here out of the 3 leaders. He pit in later, which means he'll have a little bit of a pace advantage at the closing laps, but that won't matter if he's not near them now. Knickel tries the outside, yields nothing. If anything, he's just trying to play the mental game and just basically wear Nathan Aruda out in a sense. May not be actually driving the car, but you can still get somebody a little bit mentally fatigued by making them battle you through multiple consecutive laps. That or switch around their psychoanalysis and play the psychological warfare game until eventually they just get so tired of having to defend from you they just do something stupid. You know, pressure, mistakes, anxiety. Extreme apprehension, suddenly I am insane. We have a pass for the lead going into T1. Aruda has just about got his front wing in there, but he has to retreat. He doesn't have to retire, not yet. Back down towards T1. Meanwhile, in the background, Joseph Mayhem is going to apply some pressure to Kyle Mitchell. This is really just not helping him either. He gets to move back on him. Meanwhile, they'll go too wide up to turn 6. And AJ has the inside. He has the better line. So AJ will indeed finish that move, but he botches turn 8 numbers, I think. I don't know, is that right, a double apex? I don't know. Whatever the heck. He goes a little wide again. Maybe he's paranoid Aruda's gonna dive him. Meanwhile, Kyle Mitchell through the middle sector gets a pass done on the Red Bull. Unfortunately, that's just played back into his hands because now guess who's going to have the DRS. Meanwhile, not far behind there, Matthew Stotts and Jamie Knock aren't out of the picture just yet. Nisha Knickel with no opportunity into 1 this time. Actually, no, wait, that's because he didn't have DRS. I'm a fool. Now he has an opportunity, but he's not all that close to Aruda going into 1. So he'll just have to sit and wait. Mitchell, thoroughly out of battery resources. Is he going for the record back there? Please shift. Does he have damage? Can't tell. Anyway, back to the things at hand. Aruda just cannot resist. There just is nothing. Meanwhile, Matthew Stotts ahead of the Red Bull, just about avoiding any collisions between the two parties. And we're gonna go again into 4. Never mind, Aruda is clear by the braking point. Mayhem, however, is not. He's gonna send it on Stotts, and Stotts is... I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know what... I couldn't see through this camera angle what was the cause, if that was Mayhem sliding up or Stotts not cutting, not giving him any room, excuse me. That's why I don't like using that camera, because I couldn't tell what happened. In real life, you can do it and then show a replay of the onboard footage to show the better angle of what happened in the crash. I cannot do that, so... the stewards will know what happened, and obviously the drivers will. Viewers won't. Aruda is attempting to make good on his escape plan, but the amount of pace difference down that front straightaway was just blinding. But AJ has a bit of a sluggish turn 2, so Aruda will just get right back to him. Neither driver has much battery left right now. Aruda will get back ahead at the braking point. Meanwhile, further down the grid, Luke Allen has a pretty good shot at taking Mayhem here. Mayhem swerving wildly, that's not allowed. Almost forces Luke Allen off of the circuit for good measure. Allen, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I would just wait. This guy has stick drift. It's like I want to watch him and see what he is doing and how he's racked up 18 seconds of penalties. But at the same time... What? I can't look at that and be a professional. I can't. AJ once again outdrags Aruda into one. Aruda backs up his entry into one as a result. And the same exact series of events will play out. I don't even have to go into broadcast camera for this. You've seen this song and dance a couple of times already. This is just the world's fastest game of leapfrog now between these two. Luke Allen somewhere along the way got ahead of Mayhem, and now he's the one swerving like a psychopath, and Mayhem misses his braking point. Or attempts to punt him off, but either way, that is a lot of wing damage. A lot of wing damage. There's a front wing left, but it's not much. Here we go again. AJ is not even using the DRS. He still has a run on him. Okay, I guess I will go into broadcast for this one, because this might be interesting. No. Aruda gets the better turn 2. There's a car in the mix. I didn't even know that they were there. Oh, Kyle Mitchell has arrived. These two have leapfrogged for so long that Mitchell has returned to the battle for the lead. On the outside of 5 again. A little bit argy-bargy. That's turn 4. Now it's 5. Not a whole lot of room, but just enough for AJ to take the lead back through turns 4 and 5. Mitchell returns, and he's got much better tires than these two. And he's in the aforementioned catbird seat. So, if anything, if these two do anything untoward, Kyle Mitchell will be in the perfect spot to pick up the pieces. Although these two have gone this long, this many times into these corners together, and they've not crashed yet, so I'm not going to automatically say that that's going to happen. Meanwhile, can't quite ignore that Matthew Stotts is also slowly making his way into this fight. As the war rages on, Aruda outdrags into one. As there's our AlphaTauri friend exiting the pits on the side of the screen. More DRS action. AJ, for like the 7th time in the race, heroically on the outside of turn 4, hangs it there. Enough battery to keep his car alongside into 5 and 6. Force Aruda to, you know, accept his existence. There's still 2. There's still 2. Finally, Aruda will take the position away as we head up towards the final hairpin of the lap. That's actually not the final hairpin. I'm an idiot. What track are you at, Riker? Kyle Mitchell is getting front row seats to the next circus, as Aruta's playing some kind of games with the DRS, but AJ got it anyway. The game of DRS chicken didn't quite work out for the Ferrari driver. Thought I heard house noises. Suddenly, Matthew Stotts has entered the frame. And he's got, well, technically even fresher tires, but also the harder tires. So that'll be a long con game for Stotts. But if he's relevant now, give it 8-9 laps and he might actually be on for the win. If he plays his cards right. AJ keeps his position going through 4 and 5. I don't actually know who started that engagement ahead. Was looking at Stotts, not at them. We're at 21 penalty seconds for this AlphaTauri. Stotts says he's definitely here. Just another thing that these guys will have to keep in mind. They've got some hard tires sitting in the on-deck circle, as it were. Aruda with no DRS enabled doesn't even attempt to pass into one. He knows he's got the big advantage through turn 2, as he has had for the entirety of this Grand Prix over AJ. But with not much battery left, he doesn't really get to him in time. Doesn't matter, he'll shoot on the outside of 4, takes a lot of exit through 5. And that camera is terrible, can I just say. I didn't even know what was happening. AJ remains the leader through another lap. This is something. I'm kind of losing words here. I just feel like I'm a broken record because I'm just saying the same things over and over again. Just this battle is going on for so long that I'm running out of stock dialogue to speak. I'm like an Oblivion NPC. I just have so many lines of commentary dialogue, and these two are making me go through all of it. Here we go again towards T1. This is like round 15 on the GP. Aruda tries the cutback through the S's. It works about as well as you could hope for. He's going to have him clear before we even get to the DRS line. But he's out of battery and AJ isn't. They're both blinking madly. Everyone is, really, except for Matthew Stotts, who's sitting here at 55. They are still 2 as we head up towards turn 6. AJ is on the outside, though, which is usually he's been the inside here, so it'll be Nathan that takes the lead back through turns 6 and 7. As that AlphaTauri edges ever closer to penalties or disqualification, AJ sends it through that corner, and no results produced from that. Stotts he's having to resist the urge to go for passes because he doesn't have to yet. AJ will once again take the lead into turn 1. He goes wide through 2. Stotts shoots on the outside of Kyle Mitchell and finds a penalty for his trouble. I was just using him as a way to look at the lead battle. I didn't even realize Stotts was going to go for that yet. Aruda around the outside. That has a weird ring to it. Around the outside of AJ through 4. He sticks the move. I'm not exactly sure because there was contact between Stotts and Mitchell. I don't know what the exact cause of that was. Oh, Stotts really, really unstable there. Mitchell unable to make him pay for it, though. AJ really not loose through there. Not turning, in fact. That gives Aruda some breathing room. And here we go with round, I don't know what at this point. I don't know if anyone's counting, but I've stopped counting. That's not a helpful camera at all. Please stop. AJ disables the DRS. It's like he was daring Nathan to try and outbrake him there, but Nathan's had the same plan for many laps now, and it's not going to change. Stotts picks, now is his moment. He's just about on the grass, but with that huge run, double slipstream, all that battery, Matthew Stotts is the new leader of the Brazilian GP, the 4th leader we've had in the race. This is, now he's just got to make good on his escape plan. I wonder now if the mediums are losing pace and the hards are gaining, or maybe Stotts just played the opportunistic role perfectly, and it's hard to really be sure. I don't think it'll be long before the mediums are slower, if they aren't already. Considering the hards are not only 3 laps newer, but are also just in general not going to wear as much, but not going to stop AJ from getting right to his diffuser. And I got thrown off by that yellow sector down the bottom of the track. It's AlphaTauri again. AJ doesn't attempt to move into 1. Of course, he has to still play around these 2 back here. If he goes for a move that's not on, he's going to lose positions to them rather than anything else. And nothing doing on this lap here of lap 29. 7 laps and chains of, oh my god, 7 laps and change of racing to go. So about another 8 minutes of racing. And we head back onto the main straightaway. Kyle Mitchell has a pretty good run on the Ferrari driver ahead. He might be looking for the move here. So that he is. Down the inside of 1. They bang wheels. Luckily this isn't real life. And Aruda gets his elbows out. He remains in 3rd for the time being. AJ, meanwhile, is lying in wait. Stotts able to get away courtesy of the DRS effect. Aruda's starting to lose touch with the lead 2. That's also affecting Kyle Mitchell in a negative way as well. It'll be next for the Aston Martin driver. Does he attempt to move here? He's got plenty of battery in him. And obviously DRS running. The 3rd and 4th place cars with absolutely no battery of speaking of. Well, worth speaking of. It's a decent run Kaneko has going, but he's not just waiting. AJ is not saving the commentators. We've now gotten more to the crunch time of the GP. Stotts horribly wide through turn 7. AJ a little unstable through turn 7. So that's the law of equivalent exchange, I suppose. This is still anybody's race. An opportunistic move for any of these 4 cars could seal the checkered flag. And while Stotts may have a penalty, it's not entirely clear to me that may not stick based on the way that he picked it up while attempting to go on the outside of another car. There's the beep, but no ERS dumping from AJ. No ERS dumping from anybody, in fact. The L1 buttons remain unpressed for this lap. We have returned to 2006, I guess. So just the year no longer exists. As I'm now sitting up in my chair, I'm actually on the literal edge of my seat.
Oh.
Neutral, the no man's land of Brazil. Nobody really willing to make a pass through here. I don't necessarily blame them for not wanting to. AJ wide through the first of the hairpins. The AlphaTauri is around in the middle sector, but well, it doesn't matter. He's ghosted, so he's not going to be in the way of the leaders. Excuse me. As we head up to 4 laps remaining in the GP, everyone's just kind of saving their battery. Never mind, Kyle Mitchell is going to try and force it, so Aruda has to use his battery to defend. The AlphaTauri continues to make a fool of himself in the eyes of the in-game stewards. He boxes again, is the AlphaTauri. I'm just like looking at anything that I have to look at, more or less. God. My throat was fine for a while, but it's back to being stubborn. I forgot the word. Where's that? And still no battery usage. Stott's having to use this to try and stay ahead, though. AJ had such a run that, yeah, that was exactly what he needed to do, or else he was going to be passed. I would say the mediums are keeping pace better than I figured, but that's probably not due to the pace of the mediums. That's probably just due to DRS. Excuse me again. The AlphaTauri around at turn 5. He does at least stay off the racetrack for long enough for the leaders to go by, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I hope for his sake that he's just new to league racing. I don't want to be that guy, but he is also 3 laps down, and he does have 27 seconds worth of penalties. So obvious driver of the day, it doesn't really seem to matter much how you spin it here. Going to Matthew Stotts. Jimmy Knock, the only other potential candidate of this, but considering Stotts is currently in the lead on track, and only really stands to lose positions due to time penalties, if that penalty does stand, which I can't exactly say whether it will or not at the moment. From what I saw, it kind of looked like it was a penalty that was just gained from attempting to give someone space on the racetrack, which, should that be the case, and should he not have gained any other warnings since getting that penalty, that's a penalty removal right there. We are about to begin the final lap of the Grand Prix. Matthew Stotts starting 8th on the grid, playing the medium tire compound start, has a pretty decent chance of winning. He's got a huge gap coming out of the final one. Turn the final one, yep. Turn the final, and it's a new Sonic character. Mayhem with a penalty, it doesn't matter. He's so far. Actually, he's absolutely not far from him. He's right on top of an Alpine. I didn't even notice that. That's the final DRS zone of the circuit. Stotts remains well ahead of almost said of Stotts. Yep, Stotts is ahead of him. He's getting ahead of himself. Please, Riker, stop being a fool. penalty-wise, the win would still go to AJ, and Nathan Aruda has fallen hard off of the back of AJ. Kyle Mitchell is running out of time to take the podium spot away from him on track. He's going to have to get an almighty run out of the last turn if he wants to do so. And as we head out of the last turn, I'd say that's enough distance. On track, Matthew Stotts completes the 8th to 1st challenge and wins the Brazilian GP. Time penalties give AJ Knickel the win at the moment. Kyle Mitchell 4th, Nathan or 3rd, 2nd for Aruda. But again, it's hard to say with that time penalty. That's just going to be a thing that gets figured out later down the line. So for now, I'll just act as though Knickel's the winner. What the heck? Well, it wasn't pretty, but you managed to finish with 27 seconds of penalties. You got enough penalties to equal half a lap of the circuit. Jamie Knock, P5, Luke Allen, P6. Noah Smith, 7th. And, I don't know how we're going to handle this, because technically, didn't finish the race, but still drove more laps than Isan Kwame did. And then we had 2 DNFs in the race. AJ Knickel doing his best Kyle Busch impression on the podium. And there you have it. The Formula 2 season has come to its conclusion. I don't remember who has the championship. I probably should have looked at the points if there was a battle. This was kind of an impromptu thing. I wasn't even planning on commentating about 20 minutes before the race started. But, that's quite a send-off for the F2 season right there. 3, eventually 4-car battle for the win from basically lap 7 onward. I need bottles of water. I need moisturization of my lung capacity. I feel exhausted and I'm not even driving.